Hello everyone, welcome to day one of the Fall Halloween series 2022. So today I have a cute little folio for you. I have the quick and easy fall folio, but this is the even quicker and easier fall folio. It comes together so quickly and I really hope you guys enjoy it. I did use the fall fields paper for it. So I cut into a couple of sheets. Honestly, it doesn't take that much pattern paper. I could have probably gotten away with using way less if I didn't want to use the different patterns. The base is orange cardstock. So it's 5x7 with a 1.5-inch spine. For these little elements here, these little cut aparts, I got a digital file from Screech Owl Designs on Etsy, and I'm going to link it below because I'm probably going to be using them more through this series. She has some really beautiful designs if you guys want to check her out. So I just printed these off and then I cut them out myself. These dies here are from La La Land Crafts, and then this gold doily here is from My Creative Time, and it's this this die right here. Oh, here it is. So it's quite large. Yeah, so this one is from My Creative Time, okay? And then I just used some baker's twine to close it up. It doesn't really need to be closed. Like when it's laying down, it definitely doesn't need a closure, but when it's standing up, it might, it might open up a little bit more. All right, so let's get inside here. So it is a mirror folio. So like everything that's on this side is also on this side, and vice versa. All right, so right on the front here, you have a pocket with a tag in it. And that pocket keeps these little elements closed, these little flaps. And then that just goes back in here to close these up. So you can fit a 4x4 photo here and on the back. And then on here you can fit a 3x3 photo. This will fit a, I would say 4x5 photo. But if it's a 4x6 photo, it'll just go down into the pocket a little bit. So that is this flap. And then that just goes on there to close it up. And all of this is on a belly band. So I haven't put anything back here, but you could for sure put an insert. I thought it would just be nice just to store extra photos back there. All right, and then this flap opens. And you could fit two slightly cropped 5x7 photos here, but I decided to just do a white photo mat and accent with some patterned papers. I thought that looked really sweet. And then this whole flap opens up. And then on the back here, we have kind of a different style of a waterfall. So this goes down, and then this goes up, and this goes up, and this goes up. So then you still have all your space for photos back here. And then they just come back down just like this. And then I didn't mat these, but you could if you wanted to. I just figured we're going to be adding photos to those, so I just left them blank. And then down here you have a waterfall, so it opens like this. And then there are 4 waterfall flaps, but you can fit this section here, you can fit a 4x4 photo too, so you can actually fit 9 4x4 photos. And then this whole element swings out like this. It's a swinging waterfall. And then you can even add photos or some secret journaling. And there is a magnet under here. So this comes back and finds its place. Like you see how it snaps in. And I'll show you how to do that in the tutorial. And then this side, like I said, is the same. So we have a photo mat here to keep it closed in the pocket. Here I did a little bit of something different. I put a 3x5 photo and then just a little strip for pattern paper. And then that closes up. You could do it either way. And then this goes in here. And then again, it opens up. and it's the same, so you could fit some 5x7 photos, just some cropped 5x7 photos, but I decided to leave it to do smaller photos there. And then this is the same again here. The waterfall element comes up like this. Really, really cute. I love doing waterfalls like this. And then these are magnetically closed as well. It is also on the other side. And then we have the same thing here. You have your photo flaps here. So I did something a little bit different with the matting. I cut the same piece so that it looks like it keeps going. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but this is the same piece of paper, and I just cut it into 1-inch strips so that you would have that like graduated look there. My magnets are getting caught up in each other. And then again, this does swing out as well, and then it has that magnet under there to find its place. So that is the folio. Again, it comes together super quick. If you need a quick gift for any occasion, this is the folio. It's so quick. So I will not keep talking your heads off, and I will send you over to the tutorial. Just remember to comment down below, and if you are a subscriber and you comment on all of the videos for the fall series, you'll get entered into the draw, and I will pick 3 people to win all the cut files from this series. The cut file for this one will be linked below. I do go through the whole construction with you and give you measurements for everything in the tutorial, but for the pattern papers and the layers and things like that, that's not in there. It will be in the cut file link below to my Etsy shop. However, you guys know I always just go down a 1/4 inch for matting, okay? So have fun with this, and here's the tutorial. All right, guys, let's get going with the tutorial. So the base of the album is 5x7. So you need 2 pieces of a 5x7 chipboard, and then your spine piece is 1.5x7. I'm not going to go through the wrapping process. This is the easy wrap method. I have a whole video on exactly how to do this down below, so there'll be a link to that video, so you can go over there and get your album wrapped, then come back and we will continue with the tutorial, or you could leave that part for now. Let's get all of our flaps done and then wrap your album cover. But all you need is 2 pieces of 5x7 chipboard, and then 1 piece for your spine that's 1.5x7. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside for now, and we're going to get going on our flaps. So our book, as you saw in the walkthrough, is identical on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to go through one whole side with you, and then you're going to repeat the exact same process for the other side. So I'm going to pull in the large flap. So we have one large flap that goes on both sides. That's 4 7/8 by 8. And on the 8-inch side, you are going to score at 1/2 inch and at 1. So you're going to have your 1/2 inch attaching piece and then a 1/2 inch gusset. And then I've already attached my tape onto the 1/2 inch gusset here. So you can go ahead and miter that. So all mitering means is you're going to cut from the score line diagonally away, but not into the score line. And this just helps to hide construction. Okay, so I'm going to put this piece to the side for a second here. So on top of this flap, you are going to have another flap that measures 4 7/8 by 7.5, and on the 7.5 inch side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so it's just going to give you your little 1/2 inch attaching strip, and we're going to just fold that down, and then you can burnish it. And if you haven't yet, you can go ahead and fold and burnish these score lines as well on your larger flap. All right, so we can go ahead and miter these as well. I think we can put the scoreboard away for now. All right, so now on top of your flap that was 4 7/8 by 7.5, there's going to be a belly band. So the belly band measures 4 1/4 by 8. And on the 8-inch side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, flip it in the scoreboard, and score again at 1/2 inch, okay? And then we can fold and burnish these pieces. Just like so. All right. And I'm not going to attach any of the flaps together yet. It's easier to do all the separate components and then attach them together after that, okay? So on the bottom of our belly band, there's going to be a pocket, okay? So all the way at the bottom here. So the pocket measures 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. And on the 5 1/4 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, flip it in the scoreboard, and score at 1/2 inch. Then you're going to attach tape, or like if you're using glue, you don't need to do your tape. But we're going to attach tape to the flap here and the side here. And then you're going to turn it over to where there's no tape and close up the bottom pocket. Again, if you're using glue, don't worry about this step, but you're going to want to put your tape on opposite sides of the pocket, okay? Then you can go ahead and fold and burnish these down, just like so. And then with my envelope scoreboard, what I did, or punch board, what I did is I lined up this score mark here. So my score mark on this side, I lined it up with the 1 1/4 mark on the scoreboard, 1 1/4, and I punched. Then I moved it over, so the same score line, I moved over to 2 1/4 and I punched. And then you're going to get this, okay? Then you need a piece of pattern paper that measures 2 by 4. And what I did with this one is I lined up this edge here on the 2-inch side. I lined up this edge at 1 on, so it's just the last one that you can actually see is 1. And then I moved it over to the 2-inch mark and I punched, okay? So you're going to punch once at the 1 and then move it over to the 2 and punch again, okay? So now what we need to do is cut this kind of point out. I'm just going to use my scissor. You can use your trimmer, your paper trimmer. And if it was a longer piece, I would definitely use my paper trimmer, or a craft knife with a metal ruler. But this is just short, so I'm just cutting them out just like this, okay? And then we can go ahead and glue these two pieces together. Make sure any markings are erased if they're too high up there. Have to find my better eraser here. All right, and then we're just gonna glue that on top of this, okay? I'm not gonna go through all the pattern paper with you guys. That'll be in the cutting guide. But just the pieces that have a special cut or need to go under the cardstock or something like that, I'll go through with you. All right, just attach it right on there like this. Just line them up. They should layer together nicely. All right, then get your belly band piece back. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove a bit of the backing on this side and just bend it out. Just bend it back like this. And make sure my belly band is flat, and I'm going to attach it right along this score line at the bottom here. Not on the score line, but just right along it. So line it up with the side that doesn't have tape. And then once it's in place, press down the side that does have tape and just remove the backing and then open it up. And if you're using glue, that's great. Just make sure you close up the bottom of your pocket. Just like this, okay? And then we'll burnish that all down. All right, so on the top here, we have a piece of our cardstock that's 4 3/4 by 4 1/4, and on the 4 3/4 side, you're gonna score 1/2 inch, and then you can go ahead and fold and burnish, and I've already added my tape, but If you're using glue, you don't need to add tape. And then I'm gonna go ahead and miter. So again, that's just from the score mark out, never into our score mark. And then I'm gonna attach it centered in this space that I have here. So between my pocket and the top of my belly band, I'm gonna center it in there, okay? So I'm gonna remove again a bit of my backing, not all of it, bend it back, and then just center it in. Again, the placement is really preference. There's no rhyme or reason to it. All right, and then we can burnish this. Okay, and then we have a piece of our cardstock that's 3 3/4 by 3 1/4. And on the 3 3/4 side, you're gonna score 1/2 inch. Then you can fold and burnish. Again, I've already added my tape. And I'm going to miter. Just like this. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna again remove a bit of my backing, bend it back, and then I'm gonna just slide this under my larger flap and remove that backing, and then place my, all right, and then we can go ahead and give that a good burnish. All right, and then to keep these two flaps closed, I have just a little tag piece that's gonna go in there. So the tag piece measures 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm gonna do a little, just a fancy cut on the top here. So this piece of white cardstock measures 3 by 5 1/4. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and just do a little tag cut at the top of it. And then we're gonna go ahead and glue it on. It's cool in my craft room today, so the glue is not cooperating. All right, and just layer it on so that these 3 sides are even, just like so. And then cut across there and there, just like this, okay? So we have a nice journaling or photo spot. And if you want, you can do the same thing at the back, but I'm gonna leave the back blank. And then that's just gonna go in here to close all of that up on our belly band. So now let's assemble this flap. We are going to attach the belly band to our flap that was 4 7/8 by 7 1/2 that we scored at 1/2 inch on the 7 1/2 inch side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove a bit of my backing on my belly band. I'm gonna attach it right in the middle. So center it, and I'm gonna line up the bottom that I haven't removed any of the tape first. And just center it in the middle of the flap to the best that you can. And then remove that backing. And then we can open it up and remove this backing. All right, and then go ahead and burnish that so it's nice and secure. All right, now we're gonna take this whole flap with our attaching strip here and attach it to our larger flap that has the 1/2 inch gusset, okay? And these are the exact same size. So what I like to do is I take the lid of my backing off, and make sure you're attaching it below the second score line, okay? Not above. And just bring the whole flap all the way to the bottom and make sure they line up completely. And then press down and remove the rest of your backing. Again, if you are using glue, that's great. Then you don't do the tape steps, okay? So on the back of this flap, we are going to attach a piece of our pattern paper that's 4 5/8 by 6 3/4. And these papers are from the fall paper pack that we're going to use for the whole series. So I'm just adding glue and make sure if it's directional, you're attaching it the right direction. Just center it in there. All right. Then you need 2 pieces of your cardstock that are 9 by 4 1/4. On the 9-inch side, you're going to score it 4 1/4, turn it in the scoreboard, and score it 4 1/4. And you're going to do that for both of them. And then I've already attached my tape to that 1/2 inch section. So this is just 3/8 score tape. So it's just in that 1/2 inch section. But again, if you're using glue, you go ahead and use your glue. And now we can burnish these score marks. You'll repeat the same step for both pieces. Make sure they're nice and straight. All right, now, so what we're gonna do is one of our pieces we are going to attach at the top here. And then one of the pieces we're going to attach at the bottom. So I'm going to line up my piece with the top of the pattern paper and the bottom of the pattern paper, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and remove a bit of the backing, and I'm going to center it in to my pattern paper, but it's going to go all the way to the top. This score mark is, okay? Just bend that back. And then once you have it where you want it, you can go ahead and press your tape down and remove the rest of the backing. All right, then the other one, you're just gonna make sure is lined up with this one. And again, I'm gonna put it all the way to the bottom of my pattern paper. So I'm removing a little bit of my backing. Just make sure it's lined up. And then once it's all the way to the bottom of the pattern paper, you can remove that backing, okay? And then to keep this closed, what we're gonna do, let me just figure out what I did here. Okay, yes. So first we'll put down this one. So the top one, then a bottom, then a top, and then a bottom, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my magnets. So these are my 12 by 1 magnets, but you could probably use smaller ones if you don't have this size, because it's not holding down too much. And I'm gonna get a piece of my tape, and I'm gonna put it on the top of this bottom flap here. Just kind of making sure, so about right there. And I'm gonna tape it down. Then I'm going to flip it up, and I'm going to get another piece of tape, and I'm going to place it kind of where the magnet was on the other side, and then let this magnet catch on top of that tape. Then make sure everything's nice and flat. Close it down, and then just rub on top here so that that tape stays where it is. And that's what's going to keep all of this closed, okay? All right, so that finishes this whole flap. So now I'm going to grab my book, and I'm going to attach this into the book. So it is 1/8 of an inch. My whole flap is 1/8 of an inch smaller than my book. So just make sure you center it in there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to remove a little bit of my tape, and I'm going to center it more towards the front than the spine, because that's what we're trying to avoid, is getting in the way of our spine. And then once you have it, just press down where you don't have tape, and then remove the backing. And then you push back on your gusset, and then that flap is attached into the book. Okay, should look just like this. Perfect. All right, so now let's work on the element that's going to go on the front inside cover. So we can put the book aside again for now. So you are going to need a bunch of pieces for this. Okay, So the first thing you'll need is a piece of pattern paper that measures 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. So 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And we'll just put that piece aside for now. Then you're going to need a piece of your cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. Okay, 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. Then you're going to need another piece of your cardstock that measures 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4. So 3/4 by 4 1/4. And then a piece of your pattern paper that measures 5 1/8 by 4 1/4. And then with the pattern paper, what you're going to do is on the 4 1/4 side, just do another snip just like we did for our tag a little bit ago, just like this. And then we're going to glue it together with this strip that's 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So it's 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4. Okay, we're going to attach it so that it goes all the way to the bottom of our cardstock, just like this, so that you have an even border on 3 sides, okay? Just like that. Then snip, and snip, just make sure that the glue doesn't move it too much. Maybe wait till it's dry and don't be so impatient like me. All right, and then we'll snip this side. Just like this, okay? And then on our piece that's 4 1/4 by 6 1/2, we're gonna glue this on here all the way to the top and all the way to both sides. Let's clean up my glue here, it's bugging me. Okay. So get your glue. Try not to be too heavy-handed. And glue it all the way to the top of this piece. And all the way to both sides. Okay. And then once you have that, then you can snip off the same angle, but don't leave any space, just snip it off completely. All right, so we have that piece done. So next what you're gonna need is 4 pieces of your cardstock that measure 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. And on the 4 3/4 side, you're gonna score at 1/2 inch. All right, and then you can go ahead and fold and burnish on all of those score lines. So this will give you a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 waterfall piece. Just like this, okay? Then what you're gonna do with your piece that we just made, you're gonna start on top here along, completely butted up against the piece we attached on here with your first waterfall piece. Again, just fold back a bit of your tape and line it up right along that piece. And then once you have it, remove the backing and you can burnish it. All right, then we'll start with another one. So this time you're going to line it up right along there. So again, just bend some back of your tape, line it up with that previous piece, but before you stick it down, close this and make sure they're staying lined up. Then you can take off the rest of your tape. All right, and then continue with your next piece. Again, just bend back some of that backing. Make sure it's flat. Line it up with that previous one. Close it down. Looks good. Then remove the backing. And burnish, and then we'll put our final one on, which should just completely cover the rest of it. Bend it back, line it up. I can see that it's lined up down here, so I don't need to close it down. Just like this. All right, and then that totally should be covering this original piece that we did. All right, so now you need a piece of your cardstock that's 2 by 5 1/4. And on the 5 1/4 side, you're just gonna score it 1/2 inch, and I've already attached my tape. Then you need a piece of your pattern paper that's 1 3/4 by 4 3/4. So this pattern paper is not from the fall book. It is cut apart from another collection. I just needed a couple of cut aparts to work with because the fall book, the fall papers has no cut aparts and like no elements to use. So I just used a couple of cut aparts from another fall collection. I believe it's Photo Play, a fall one. So this is just one of the cut aparts, and I just cut it down a bit. So what I'm going to do is on this top side here, I'm going to make a little cut. Again, this is just the little tag. If you have a one of those Crocodile, I think it's Crocodile, or We Are Memory Keepers corner punchers, use that because it's the same thing. But this is simple, so I like simple. And I'm just attaching it on here. Nice and even. Just like that. All right, and then you can go ahead and do the same thing, just trim and trim, and then bend back your score line and burnish it. Make sure this is staying straight. All right, and then I'm just going to take all the backing off here, and I'm going to line it up with my flaps open, all the way open. I'm going to line it up to this bottom here, and I'm just going to center it as best as I can. You can always measure if you'd like. Burnish that. Okay, and then we're going to open it up, and this is going to come over top of it like this. So you need another set of magnets. I'm again using the 12 by 1 inch magnets, and I just get mine from Amazon. And I'm going to get some of my tape, and I'm going to place it about here, my magnet. I'm going to put a piece of tape over top. I'm going to get another piece of tape, put it upside down on the magnet, let this one catch. Make sure this is flat, and then close this down and just kind of rub. And then I kind of like to move it to the side like this versus lifting it straight up. And then that magnet goes there, and that's then our nice closed waterfall. All right, so the next thing we need, okay, so next you need to bring back in your pattern paper that's 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my pattern paper down, and you kind of need something that you can poke through. So I'm just using a piece of chipboard here, and I've got a brad here. So you can really use any size brad you want. This is the size that I'm going to use, and I'm just placing it centered, my like waterfall element. I'm placing it centered on my pattern paper here as best as I can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke through this section up here that we created, try to find the center, and I'm going to poke all the way through my pattern paper and all of my waterfall element here. Then take your brad and put it all the way through that hole. And then you can just flatten it out nicely. And then that's what gives you your swinging waterfall, which is super, super fun. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my whole thing over. I can move this now. And I'm going to place it like this. And I'm going to get, again, a set of my magnets. So I need 2 magnets. And I'm going to place one here on the back of my waterfall, just like this. And put my tape over top of it. All right, then flip it over and make sure it is right where you want it on here. and go ahead and flip it all the way to the back to your pattern paper and let that magnet find the other magnet. Then you get a piece of your tape and just cover it just like this, okay? Now, this whole element is going to get glued into the front inside cover of our book, okay? So go ahead and remove the backing of this tape and get your glue on here. So we can glue this whole thing into here. There's only going to be a very slight border of your orange cardstock, but that's fine. Just like this. And you can move this so that you can press it down better here. Now, if this magnet here not being covered bothers you, you can certainly put a little bit of some pattern paper or something on there, but nobody's ever going to see it, so I'm not going to worry about it. So that finishes this side of our book. So again, like I said, the other side is going to be a carbon copy of this. So let me just finish that and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've gone ahead and repeated the steps for this side. So again, like I said, they're the exact same. So just repeat the steps to finish the other side. And now I'm just going to finish attaching my pattern papers and all that fun stuff. And you will have seen the finished book in the walkthrough at the beginning of the tutorial. But I will do a cutting guide and the link will be below to my Etsy shop so that you can go grab the cutting guide and then you'll have all the sizes for the pattern paper and everything. But as you know, I just go down 1/4 inch. So I mean, if I was trying to mat this piece here, that's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, I would just go down to 3. And that's all I do for matting, okay? So thank you so much for joining me for this super cute fall book, and I will see you guys all back here next Thursday for the second video in our fall Halloween series. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.